week's episode, Netflix makes some big changes. Whose ending was better, The Mandalorian or Picard? And is the podcasting boom over? All this and more as we reach our next stop, the PCC Multiverse. And we're back with another episode of the PCC Multiverse. This is Gerald Glassford from Pop Culture Cosmos, Game Source, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, and of course, the Lakers Fast Break. We truly appreciate everyone out there listening to all of our great shows. And if you can, please give us that 5-star review wherever you get your podcasts. Plus, if you could like, share, subscribe, follow, or do whatever you can to support us right here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, Inside Sports Fantasy Football, Game Source, of course, Lakers Fast Break, and also, of course, our great friends at Vampires and Vitae, Wild Beyond the Witchlight, Wizards and Wine, and everything that we do in the world of tabletop RPGs. I want to go ahead and make sure that you know that we do a lot of things for you at Pop Culture Cosmos on Facebook, where we cover the latest news and trends of pop culture, plus popculturecosmos.wordpress.com. And if you could support all of that, it is sincerely appreciated. But it wouldn't be a PCC Multiverse without a good friend indeed. She is... Ooh, she looks like the Borg Queen, like
I do a
stroking
little
her hair
bit.
like that. Yeah, stroking her hair like in the darkness and shadows. Is that like wires trying to be hooked up on you so you could be assimilated right there for you? She is the Borg Queen of Pop Culture Cosmos. You got to go ahead and check out what she's doing today to try assimilate you into watching and experiencing and listening everything tabletop RPG action, including Wizards and Wine and Vampires and Vitae. It is my good friend. It is Melinda Barkhouse Ross. And Melinda, I actually asked you this on the DM earlier this week, but I never got a response back. So I wanted to ask you over the air, is it okay if I borrow a couple of episodes and take some of the great parts of what you're doing as far as in the world of tabletop RPG and make an episode out of it?
Oh, God, yeah, please do.
I already did on Monday.
Okay.
And if you haven't checked it out yet, I already posted it on Monday for the Pop Culture Cosmos because I not only got Wizards and Wine, Vampires Vitae, our first episode of the Vaesen RPG, and of course our good friends at Demolition Force. So go ahead and check it out today. It was a really good episode combining some of the great fun, the great laughter, the great storytelling. So go ahead and check it out today of the Pop Culture Cosmos, wherever you get your podcasts. But great to have you here, Melinda. I was actually waiting to do that all week since you didn't really answer me on it because you were answering other DMs that I was sending. I've been waiting for all week to get you do that.
That's funny.
Just,
Sorry. I
no,
really
no
didn't
worries.
see that. Oh my gosh.
No, I was worried because we were back and forth on the DMs, and I put that in there, and I just never heard back from you on it, and we continued other conversations and topics for this show. It was like I just thought I'd go ahead and put it out there just to
Yeah.
ask, but
Just go ahead.
already done.
All
But
right.
we got a great show lined up for you today. We got a lot to talk about, the season ending episode of The Mandalorian, plus also as well the series ending for Star Trek Picard. Who is better, Star Trek or Star Wars? We'll talk about who ended their show, better, or did they end it pretty much the same way? We'll go ahead and talk about that. Plus, also as well, is the podcasting boom over? I'll mention why, because I experienced the NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, here in Vegas convention here this past week. Want to tell you about my time there and how I think that the broadcasting community is not exactly distancing itself from podcasting, but it sure is looking in that direction. And I'll explain why coming up later in the show. Plus, also as well, the movies coming out this week. Can any of them compete with Super Mario Brothers heading towards $1 billion? We'll talk about that, plus all this other great stuff I've got lined up for you right here at the PCC Multiverse. But first, my friend, I wanted to ask you this. When it comes to what we're seeing with The Mandalorian and the season ending episode of Picard, which is actually series ending, your thoughts? I know you got a chance to finish what was going on with Picard, a very nostalgic every episode adventure was very much down nostalgic lane with people reappearing from the actual original series. Hint, hint. I will just say that. Also, as well, the what? The Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, everybody except for Enterprise. Enterprise is like I don't know, just the black sheep of the Star Trek family because that series seems to get no love at all. So I want to hear your thoughts though on the ending of Star Trek Picard. I thought with both this and the Mandalorian, there was a little bit of lazy writing as far as how they got there. But still, despite that, very fun, very reminiscent, and I think both went to the school of the Return of the Jedi on how to end your series and or I guess trilogies or series or whatever you want to say. But they both went to the school of the Return of the Jedi and how they dealt with the endings of their seasons and or series. Your thoughts though on Star Trek Picard and the end, supposed end of an era until you get to the after credits.
Yeah, I am not gonna lie, when Worf was finally brought in, I got a little emotional, reminded me of season 1 when you finally got to see Picard back in the Star Trek in the Starfleet uniform.
Kabar, kabaka.
God, so good, so great. Michael Dorn, what a credit to the series that guy is. It was just I don't know, for me, it was just, it was hit after hit after hit. I didn't really see a whole lot of misses. There obviously were some problems, which I think there would be in something that's only going to be 8 episodes long. I think that in order to really
It was actually I think 10.
yeah, but I think if you're really going to, deep dive into some of the stuff that they were trying to deep dive into, you had to give it more time. To wrap up the changeling stuff properly, to bring the Borg back and do a little bit more explaining of it, other than Picard's DNA carried Lakota. My goodness,
Locutus.
Locutus's DNA that gave the Borg access, all of that kind of stuff. Hashtag spoiler alert. I think that all things considered, and looking at some of the problems, I was satisfied as a Star Trek fan, watching it.
And I
I was
thought it was good. I thought it was good. Don't get me wrong. I thought that, again, a little lazy writing on both of these series parts.
sure.
But still, I thought overall it was fun. It was nostalgic, especially on Star Trek Picard's part, and I really enjoyed that fact. But I really thought it started off really, really good and kind of ended on some very safe, but not, yeah, I don't know, outstanding notes. Just it was safe. It was safe. It was the way to go, but it was safe.
Absolutely. With all of when through all of the changeling stuff that was happening, as I'm watching it, I'm like, "Man, I wonder what the Borg are doing." I'm not kidding, through the whole thing. So, the fact that they, like, clumsily kind of crammed the Borg in at the end, I think may have been an amount of fan service. It was such
Yeah,
a major part in the Picard story arc that
and I get that.
yeah, you had to bring them back around for the very end. You couldn't
It's
just
like
not.
it was like 7 or 8. Guard all that as well.
Oh, hush. You really see, if we are going to see a series that follows Picard's son and his journey through Starfleet on the Enterprise G,
You're still gonna
um,
have remnants, I get it, but to have
of course.
Q,
Well, I you need something to slingshot the story and propel it into something, and I think that it's a great way to begin a series with the problem of Q. And just like we saw with The Next Generation, Q is going to come in and out for as long as the actor is alive. That's just a
yeah, but
thing.
John Delancey is brilliant.
Of
Don't get me
course.
wrong,
Yes.
but he was supposed to have died. You're literally just wiping away the first 2 seasons as far as,
It's a
and
cue.
season
For
3,
all we know, the cue dying could just be, "I'm really tired and need to have a nap," because he's
he
so
said
gosh
he
darn
was dying.
dramatic.
He said he was dying, and they
Wait, I
showed his death at the end of season 2.
I have been so tired, I have said, "I think I'm dying. I am that tired." So perhaps that's all that was actually going on with Q. Come
Okay,
on.
so he just needed to spend some time laying down on the couch
Yeah,
watching
just having
TV.
a nap. Yeah, just
Okay.
watching some old reruns of some Next
Okay.
Generation goodness.
All right. But again, I'm hoping that if they do decide to make a series out of whatever the left of the remnants of Star Trek Picard, I hope so. I would like the characters that would be a part of it, but we'll see what happens there. But it is Star Trek Picard season 3. We'd love to hear your thoughts. But before we hit the break, my friend, it is Star Wars, The Mandalorian, which saw the Mandalorians, whatever was there available to go ahead and fight the Empire, who actually had a secret base inside Mandalore all this time, with Moff Gideon leading the way, coming back with his new Beskar armor and his new Beskar soldiers ready to go ahead and help him out, and the stormtroopers that were there, and the Praetorian Guard that were also very menacing as well, led up to a battle between the Mandalorians and the Empire, with the Mandalorians succeeding. It looked like at some time that our good friend, the Mandalorian himself, was going to get, but of course he's saved by Grogu in a very, again, lazy writing thing where he automatically just appears out of nowhere to save the Mandalorian when it was assumed he was going to be with the other Mandalorians on the other side of the base. But I guess, you know what? Hey, got to go ahead and have that lazy writing there. Can't figure out another way to save the Mandalorian, but they tried to nix or get rid of the cloning storyline all in one thing at the very end there. And then obviously it leads into Mandalorians regaining their home world for a good, happy ending. And then the Mandalorian flies off to, I guess, Carl Weathers is, the Greek Karga, his planet, that he's got now, and then he gets his own home. So at the end, the Mandalorian flies home to his new home, where he and Grogu are just chilling, and he has taken him as his son, and officially in the eyes of Mandalore, even though Grogu still, because he can't speak basic, he still can't be able to recite the words and take the oath of the Mandalorian. He's still now considered a son of the Mandalorian, and you see a happy little ending for them. But the only thing I didn't really like about the Star Wars The Mandalorian was, okay, you title it The Return, and yes, it's the return of the Mandalorians to their planet, but I was also hoping for a return of Grand Admiral Thrawn, who's going to be a major part of the Ahsoka, major part of the heir
Right.
to the Empire, movie that's going to eventually come out, that's going to tie in all these, the Dave Filoni verse, as I'm going to call it right now. That's going to tie in all together. It's going to be an heir to the Empire movie, most likely, with Grand Admiral Thrawn playing the big bad guy out of all this. I would have loved for him to be in the last part of that episode, or somehow tie into the spy and the cloning doctor, which were just, that was part of a episode. That was almost a full episode in the season of The Mandalorian, and they just completely almost written them out at the very end. But outside of that, again, Grand Admiral Thrawn could have made an appearance, made it that much better. But solid, again, very solid, very Return of the Jedi-ish, as we saw. Got those vibes again. It's funny because I watched one, got that vibes from Return of the Jedi. Watched Picard, got those vibes again. Return of the Jedi. It was all very Return of the Jedi-ish on both accounts, but it was pretty good. It was all right for what it was.
Yeah, it's a couple of, I think anyway, this season of Mandalorian, this season of Picard, I think they're both worth your time if you haven't watched either.
But
You
yeah,
can.
it's The Mandalorian is not as good as season 2, and I think a lot of people are upset with that. I thought it was okay for what it was. I know that a lot of people are not liking the fact that it focused on the Mandalorians as a race regaining their homeworld, and not on the Mandalorian, Din Djarin, and
Yes, because
Grogu.
an
Because
entire, group of people getting their planet and their home back is terrible and not a good story to tell at all. Come on.
I didn't mind it. And
No, of course.
there was a couple of side filler episodes, the Jack Black episode, which again was pretty much a filler episode. It was fun. It was right for what it was, but again, it's
Mhm.
a filler episode. Plus the spies, where you meet the spy for Moff Gideon, and then also what happened to the cloning doctor, what happened to him. That was a whole episode that was just, again, pushed to the side with no other meaning or recalling to it very much at all for the rest of the series or rest of the season. So again, I'm hoping they'll revisit that down the line. They probably will, but for now, the Mandalorian's just chilling in his new home, and that's, I guess, the way the season 3 ends without a rival of Moff Gideon. Excuse me, without a rival of Grand Admiral Thrawn or any of that good stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just chilling, just
Yeah,
chilling.
that's sometimes you gotta give a man a break.
Absolutely. Grogu's playing with frogs, playing with his food there. So, yep.
Yeah.
All's well that ends well for both Star Trek Picard and Star Wars The Mandalorian. Everybody's got that shiny, happy feeling like they did from Return of the Jedi. But I will say, though, they both are good, not great endings to what both had, I thought, was pretty good seasons. Especially in Star Trek Picard's case, was really, really good about halfway through, leading into the final episodes where it kind of got nostalgic, over nostalgic, maybe a little bit too nostalgic. But you know what? For the most part, both are really good. I recommend them both, and we'll see what happens there with the actually the offshoot of another Star Trek series. I mean, before we head to the break, I mean, we've heard a lot about the go ahead for Michelle Yeoh. Huh? Funny, winning an Academy Award. Greenlight a movie for Paramount Plus for Section 31. What do you know? So I'm assuming that a new series after Star Trek Fleet Academy has started, Star Trek Discovery ends. I believe that I'm sure that this Picard offshoot will happen as well.
Yeah, I hope so because I enjoyed the character, I liked the actor, and, yeah, I was left wanting to know a little bit more about his story, so I think that, it'll be pretty great, and plus, by, having him, himself in a new series, it gives you opportunities to maybe see Beverly Crusher once in a while, you may see, Number 1 every once in a while, you may see Worf every once in a while, so that could be something that they carry forward into, a new series. But, if they were gonna do that, I would keep it to, like, the 1st season. I wouldn't, wanna kind of keep dragging these old characters back time and time and time again. I think that, if you're gonna dabble in that, you dabble in it in the 1st season.
Shh. I want to just let you know they're already doing it. They've been doing it. They're going to keep on doing it.
Well, I'm not mad about it, please don't get me wrong, I'm not mad, so
Q is dead. I'm just going to let you
Oh,
know.
it's a queue, you never know what's going on. They could all look the same, we don't know.
I'm I'm not going to go there. All right. But whatever your thoughts are on Star Trek Picard season 3 and whatever your thoughts are on Star Wars The Mandalorian season 3, please let us know which season 3 was better. Did you like them both? Let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But before we hit the half hour break, my friend, I wanted to hit you up on Netflix, which reported gaining almost 2 million subscribers. It's okay. Why not? They'll take a plus at this point in time. That was for the ending of, I guess, that part of the quarter. This one is going to be different. I'm going to be very interested to see what the results are from the first 4 months of this year. If that was the 1.75 million or not, as far as how much they added as far as Netflix subscribers are concerned, because the first 4 months were really a slow time content wise. Again, we talked about that last week with the Night Agent, but they did talk about the password sharing crackdown coming very, very soon, my friend.
I
And then
thought that had already
also,
been enacted.
well, said they're going to go with it in North America really, really soon.
Hmm.
I will say though that that also a major milestone has been ended as Netflix has decided to discontinue its revolutionary DVD by mail option. So they will no longer, as of this year, later this year, they're going to cancel it, but they will be ending that part of their business after all these years, after redefining an industry, after basically being the cause of the demise of Blockbuster and Hollywood Video here in the United States, and then leading to Netflix becoming a streaming outlet. And then we all know what happened from there. Your thoughts on the ending of the era, an ending of an era with DVD mailing being no longer afforded or available by the end of the year by Netflix?
Yeah, I had no idea they were still sending DVDs out in the mail, and I didn't think that people were still watching DVDs.
Mhm.
So, perhaps it's a little bit of snobbery on my part, I don't know, but, I suppose, though, there are still, places that are hard to get internet, so that could, frustrate some folks, and things like that, perhaps is why they held on to the service for this long, but maybe they're seeing enough of a spread of the internet into some of those places that, it just doesn't make logical sense for them anymore.
Well, I do want to mention that their recent announcements of the increase in global subscribers by 1.75 million was for this first quarter of 2023. That which actually to me is a positive because again, the selections on Netflix for this first quarter were not, I think, at the level of previous quarters of many of Netflix offerings for the past 5 years. But hey, if they were able to do that with a lesser quality or lesser amount of quality movies and television series, more power to them. They're now 232.5 million subscribers strong, which is an outstanding number for them. So, hey, with all that going on, they also announced that their burgeoning games end as far as that right now you could go ahead and play mobile games, but they are getting more into the console side of it with the announcement that a Halo executive director, actually the Halo boss, Joseph Staten from 343 Studios, he is jumping to Netflix to jumpstart a AAA franchise for them. Your thoughts on this? We've seen entities in the past 5, 7 years dabble into the major console market, whether it's trying to make a new console of their own with Google, and we saw how that went with Stadia. And then also as well, Amazon tried to make AAA games, via the console and PC market, and that has, I think the first two games that they brought out were absolutely horrendously viewed, and I think that they've been very quiet and mull on exactly their future going forward. So it hasn't really worked out. I still think there's a place for another big market company to go ahead and bring in a new side of this industry, whether it's a game or a console. But your thoughts on Netflix getting more involved in the video game industry?
Yeah, I don't know, if for some reason it does feel like a step in progression for Netflix as a company, to just go from, television and movie entertainment into gaming entertainment as well. I think it does make sense. I think if they're gonna do it, they have to make sure that they're stepping into the arena the absolute correct way. As you said, we've seen examples of people doing it incorrectly, so hopefully they're kind of learning and looking at those mistakes and not trying to repeat them straight out of the gate.
Well, to me, I'm hoping that they'll understand where Google and Amazon have made their mistakes,
Yes.
and just bringing in a big name from a company 343 that has actually had mixed results with the Halo franchise in the past decade. We have seen some highs and some lows from Halo since Bungie left the Halo franchise and turned it over from 343. So it's not exactly, so like let's say Neil Druckmann from Naughty Dog left to go to Netflix. I'm just saying that as a what if. That would be a huge get, and do understand that he's got this huge backlog of success already in the past 15 years of what's gone in the video game world for him and Naughty Dog. I would get that and think that would be really just like a no-brainer as far as success is concerned. This is something I think with 343 and their checkered past since gaining the Halo franchise and since Microsoft created 343, I'm not as sold on a Netflix future for a AAA game. Again, it all depends on how smart, how they go into it, and how much they learn from the mistakes of Amazon and Google, and understanding what the AAA gaming sphere is actually like.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with that. And as I said, any mistakes that any of those Amazon or sorry, Google made into the space, I'm sure that they have looked at that and have taken notes. And I'm sure that they have had numerous consultants in to look at it and break down what went wrong and where they went wrong and what could have been done to right the ship and all of that kind of stuff. So, I'm sure that they are doing their homework. I just hope that it turns out, to be a positive result for them.
Because Amazon could have done the same thing with Netflix as okay, they bring out a AAA game. If it's good or has a backstory, they create TV series, movies with it because they all could have done Google even with Stadia. If they had AAA studios making games specifically for Stadia that they eventually canceled because they didn't like the initial returns. So they got cold feet and they stepped out of the water and just canceled Stadia altogether. And then you had, like I said, with Amazon, two bad games of a expenditory nature where they were just spending a whole bunch of cash at it, but they didn't really have a grasp on exactly what making a good game is all about. So I'm still on the fence. I mean, I know they're burgeoning on the mobile game side of it. I'm not sure that that's always a necessity or that's always a no brainer or it's always a done deal that just because you make some good mobile games automatically means you're going to make a good AAA games because the budget and the reaction and the anticipation and just the level of expectations you have increases tremendously the more dollars you put into these games.
Yeah, if you're looking at like mobile games as like ground level, when you start getting into console games and stuff like that, like you're up in the stratosphere in terms of expectation. So, I get, but we know that Netflix, they're not a bunch of dummies there, and I'm sure that that's all stuff that they've taken into consideration.
That's true, but it seems like a part of the legacy is going to end with DVD by mail. That part of their business is going to be ending by the end of this year, which is going to be, again, basing off nostalgia, like we talked before, going to be a very nostalgic end for some. But you know what? It did its job. It got rid of its main competitors. When remember the old story that Netflix was begging Blockbuster to buy them out, and Blockbuster laughed at them. And who had the last laugh since?
Yeah, there it is, right?
I think the ultimate blow was the canceling, very quick cancellation of the Blockbuster sitcom show. So I thought that was just the ultimate, just we got you payback and all that. But yes, the DVD will be ending by mail for Netflix, but after 232 million and a half million subscribers, you know, I could see why they're focusing on other aspects of their business and seeing what they can do within the video game space as well. So very interesting things from Netflix. Your thoughts on Netflix's latest numbers, their entry into AAA gaming, and the end of the DVD by mail business. Your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, 1.5 hour down, 1.5 hour to go. Seems like it's gone by just like that. So far, woof, 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 woof. Just really just flown by this first half hour. Your thoughts though on this weekend's movies? We see Super Mario Brothers is now going to be $1 billion movie. I have no doubt about that. Now it's already over $700 million, and it's going into its third weekend now, only its third weekend as it heads towards that magical number, probably about the next 7 to 10 days. Your thoughts, though, when it comes to The Covenant, which is another Guy Ritchie film. He's already had two come out this year, which is, a lot for a director. It's getting okay reviews. Hopefully that'll lead to some type of success. Jake Gyllenhaal, it's a military action movie, but it hasn't been really very well promoted, in my opinion. Evil Dead Rise, which tries to go ahead and continue on the Evil Dead legacy that was reborn again in the last decade after those great Evil Dead movies from Bruce Campbell. Your thoughts on this? Plus, also in independent theaters out there, as far as the a smaller amount of theaters, but also release Joaquin Phoenix, who is having a very, very good performance again by one of the best actors in the world in Beau Is Afraid, which is also becoming a very controversial movie on its own. Your thoughts on these three movies and if they could do any damage, comparatively speaking, to Super Mario Brothers at the box office?
You know, I really do think that Super Mario Brothers has, I think, 2 more weekends before, things start to peter off a little bit. I think that
So
Um,
basically, by the time Guardians of the Galaxy comes in,
yeah, I think that, it's been a long time. I'm speaking perhaps a little bit out of turn, but I think feel like it's been a long time since a really true kids animated movie has made it into theaters. And I don't mean ones that have like the low key adult humor in it or the jokes in there for mom and dad. I mean a movie that is solely for kids.
mhm.
And I think that perhaps movie companies forgot a little bit that that might be a thing that could make gobs of money in the box office because people love to treat their kids, and it's a really good opportunity for mom and dad to sit in a theater and turn the lights out for them as well, and just let the kids enjoy the movie, and you don't really have to worry about too much.
Well, Disney though in its last two offerings, Strange Worlds and Lightyear have bombed and been money losers. In fact, it came out this week that is probably between those two going to lose probably around 225 to 250 million dollars from both those movies combined. So family fun movies, family friendly movies where they can be visited, by the entire family. It's not as easy as it looks because if the Disney name or the Pixar name didn't get people back into the theaters last year, it seems like Mario is doing it this year.
Yeah, and I mean there is a that spark of nostalgia for parents when they take their kids into the movie theater, but I really do think that the strength of this movie is that it is a nostalgic movie for parents, but it is 100% a movie for kids.
Well, that's good. I think that like you, I think we'll see two more good weekends, strong weekends before Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 hits on May the 3rd. So we'll see what happens, or May the 5th, excuse me, May the 5th. So we'll see what happens there. But it is Super Mario Brothers, the movie. Looking forward to seeing another great weekend. I think Evil Dead Rise, just because the Evil Dead name is going to actually do some decent money. The Covenant is the one I'm not sure about. It is, again, the second Guy Ritchie film of the year so far. At this pace, he's got like two or three more probably that he's done, seemingly released because he's been very active. Beau Is Afraid, I think, is if it's well received enough, it might be remembered for some Oscar consideration because it's going to be an independent movie that I think a lot of people will like to see. A24, I think A24 again is behind this. Yes, it is distributed by A24, who
Mhm.
around this time started to get people interested in a little movie called Everything Everywhere All at Once. Could this be the next Everything Everywhere All at Once?
Gosh, I'd love to see them repeat that success because that was pretty incredible to watch, and we called it pretty early on, to give ourselves a pat on the back.
Yes, we did. Hello. But your thoughts on it? Do you think it could reach that level of success?
I mean, I haven't seen a trailer for it yet, so I really can't speak to that too much. I just know that I'm kind of pulling for A24 to continue to make these interesting, offbeat, off kilter movies and achieving success with them. I think it's been really fun to watch, and it's it gives you a little bit of a hope that it's not just the big movie companies that are able to put out content, and I think that it's showing perhaps and hopefully the bigger movie companies that people are interested in quirky, interesting, different movies. We don't want the same thing rehashed and refried every few years.
Absolutely. I will say though this that with the written and directed and produced by Ari Aster, who is obviously a very interesting individual in and of himself. But this again is acted brilliantly from what I'm seeing as far as all the reviews by Joaquin Phoenix, who's taking it to the level by playing different older and younger versions of himself. And I'll just leave it at that. So go ahead and check out the trailer when you get a chance, Beau Is Afraid, and see if it's something that you would like if it opens up to more theaters around the country. But very interesting mix at the box office this weekend. I still think Super Mario Brothers, like Melinda, has another good couple weeks in it, maybe even more. We'll see what happens. But what are your thoughts on this weekend's box office offerings with The Covenant, Evil Dead Rise, and Beau Is Afraid? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, before we hit the break, my friend, I wanted to go ahead and hit you up on a couple games that have released this week, one of which is 10 years in the making, the other which is 10 years plus after its great predecessor. And the first one we'll go ahead and touch on is Dead Island 2, which was originally announced 10 years ago with an actually very, very cool and funny trailer. A lot of people were really excited at the time it was debuting. I think at E3 2013, if I'm not mistaken, but a lot of people were excited for it. You know, the zombie genre was still somewhat fresh at that point in time. It hadn't been done to death. I mean, The Walking Dead was still earning massive ratings on
Mhm.
TV. A lot of people still had great feelings for Left 4 Dead 2, which was still at that time being played religiously by a lot of people, in cooperative modes all over the world. There was still a lot of good zombie movies that were and TV shows still on the way and video games on the way. 10 years later, the zombie genre has been done to death. Yes, that was a pun. So I ask you, my friend, Dead Island 2's come out to mediocre to okay to decent reviews. It's considered very funny as it's a new telling of a zombie apocalypse hitting the Los Angeles market. Your thoughts on Dead Island 2? Is it too little, too late for this zombie killer?
Yeah, I think the zombie video games, just like zombie movies, are always going to find their niche. And if this one is focusing more on like a comedic side of what a zombie apocalypse would look like, then that's a different take than what we normally see. Usually, it's deep and it's well, it does not necessarily be deep, but it's definitely dark, definitely twisted. So, if you're going to bring a particular brand of dark humor to that, I will check out the game.
I think it's going to be again. I hear the humor is very good on it, so I might give it a shot just for that. And
Mhm.
I'm not very picky on the gameplay. If it's something that I just go ahead slash and shoot
Yeah.
and just get the zombies one after another, I'm okay with that. I don't see that much a problem with that. I still, for me, the best zombie game of all time that I've ever played is Left 4 Dead 2, just because of the frenetic pace and the
Right.
fact that you could be disoriented if you're not doing the right thing at the right time very easily. And you could just basically be running for your life and have that feeling almost like that you have zombies right behind you running after you, and that feeling as far as that's concerned. So I think I've never been able to quite recreate that with any other zombie game, but still, be that as it may, I think this might be okay, depending on whether or not you want to pay. Usually, what it comes out at $70 for a AAA game these days.
Yeah, well, I mean, if you are at a gap right now in your gameplay where you're waiting for Diablo 4 to come out, for
Mhm.
example, and you just want something to get you through the next couple of months, maybe you're a little bit tired of what you have in your repertoire, then yeah, I could see this one being picked up by folks and played for a little while until, the next big one comes.
We'll see what happens, but I think that whatever it does, it's probably going to be nowhere near what a game that's been 10 years
Yeah,
in development basically should have done. Because when you have a game that's 10 years in the making like that, you are expecting huge numbers. And I don't think it's going to get it because of what's come before that people are still playing. And like what's coming up, what we just talked about with Diablo 4.
true story, yeah, and, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things going on with Diablo 4 I'm pretty excited about, so,
And
that
another playtest, I guess, is coming next month.
yeah, middle of May, thereabouts. The information, just came out, earlier today, I believe,
Mhm.
and, it's not like an open beta test so much, it's gonna be, like, the same kind of content that you saw during the open beta weekend, but, this one is more of, like, a straight up stress test on the servers. So they're like, "We need as many people as possible to log on and play Diablo 4," and I was like, "Okay, if you're gonna invite me, I guess I'd better go play," so
It's coming up May 12th to May 14th, just to let you know.
yeah, perfect, middle of May. So, that works out great, and, I will definitely be on there. So if you see waiting teapot, that's me.
Okay, fair enough. Maybe there's some crossplay involved. I'm not sure if that's available as of yet, so we'll have to go ahead and find out come the Diablo 4 beta extended playtest that's going to come in May 12th to May 14th. But again, with that, Starfield and the other games are going to be announced here in the not too distant future. Since there's no E3, all these other companies are going to do it by themselves. But there's going to still be a lot of games that are going to be coming out this year. Zelda, for instance, they dropped a final trailer for its impending release. So all these other games are getting in the way of Dead Island 2 success, I think, and that
Yeah.
ultimately will be a game that's going to be classified as just another zombie game, and actually probably be even less thought of, even though it might be thought of as an okay game, it might be less thought of simply because of the fact it took 10 years to get to consoles.
Yeah, I wonder if the people who were excited 10 years ago about the game's announcement, I wonder if they're
Probably not.
interested. Yeah, that's
Probably not.
interesting.
I mean,
It's something
there's so
yeah, I'm
many
trying
games that
to
come out. Dying Light. Remember, Dying Light 1 and 2 have both come out since then.
true.
Then you have World War Z, and then you have all these other zombie games that have filled that void
Mm,
since the
Killing
announcement of
Floor, that was a good
yeah.
one.
Yeah, so all these other zombie like games that have come out since then have filled the niche that or filled the void that wasn't going to be filled for 10 years by Dead Island 2. I don't think there's a chance that Dead Island 2 will actually really corner the market. I think it's just going to fade away, just like so many other these video games that have really taken too long to be released.
Well, maybe they're anticipating that, and perhaps the price point will be a little sweeter because of that, who knows?
I'm sure it'll probably be a bargain deal come Black Friday
Yeah.
in 6 months. So if you're willing to wait 6 months, it might be just the game for you to get, but we'll see. But once again, it's Dead Island 2. But before we hit the break, my friend, Minecraft Legends, which is considered the sequel to the much beloved Minecraft, which has been one of the most amazing, most creative, most interesting, most accessible video games for all ages this century, and has been an achievement in video gaming that very few others have reached. Let's
Right.
just put it that way. Played on all platforms virtually by hundreds of millions of players worldwide over the course of the past decade plus. Your thoughts on what Minecraft Legends needs or can do to expand beyond that, as far as creating a even better situation for the next, hopefully, 10 more years of great Minecraft Legends.
Yeah, my problem with Minecraft is that I was never really creative enough to,
I'm I'm I'm
yeah.
smashing my rocks.
Yes. I so really what the part of the game that I found fun was finding a section of like a mountain and glass walling it in and then just building stairs until you got to the very bottom. So as long as building stairs is still easy, I'm happy with that, but, like, like I said, I'm certainly not a diehard Minecraft player by any means, but it's always great when a new product for an IP that you love is released, so, I'm thrilled for Minecraft fans. I know quite a few of them, so, I'll be checking in with them to see what their thoughts are for sure.
I'm hoping it's going to be the same level of enjoyment. It's really hard though. I mean, you have a base game that came out and it just absolutely thrilled hundreds of millions of players over the
Yeah.
course of the past decade, of all ages. It's a game where if my daughters were, let's say, 6 and 7, were interested into it, I would mind them playing it because it's something that I think that they can play, and I feel safe in that environment as long as I'm monitoring what they're doing, as far as they're not involving themselves with other people that have nefarious ideals. I would have been okay with that as far as it's concerned, because like I said, the world of Minecraft allows you to explore and create that type of environment, which is really kind of fun. And it's not the always shoot 'em up, let's go ahead and kill everything in sight type of deal. It doesn't have to be like that. So Minecraft has been oh so much more than just your standard video game experience, and I really appreciate it for what it was, and it's going to be heralded for quite some time as one of the most important and one of the most influential video games of the century.
Yeah, I agree. There's no question about its impact and things like that, and it's definitely There's been more than one Christmas where the majority of the gifts under the tree were Minecraft for my nephew. He has graduated now up to what's the other one? Open world fighting. Oh my gosh. It's right there. I want to say Hero Forge, but that's not it. That's making minis in
No, are you
D&D.
talking?
Uh, uh,
Which one are you talking about? Apex Legends?
no, the other one.
Uh,
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that my mind has gone that blank. Wait, you're gonna
really?
be like, "Are you serious? You forgot the title of that video game? Come
Are
on,
you
you drop
serious?
parachute into the little island, and then the force field closes on you. Come on, come on, come on! It's right there." That's so funny.
Are
It's
you?
a free game. Free game. It's microtransactions in game to buy new skins and all of that kind of stuff. When a season ends, they kind of blow the world up and then start
I'm letting
new.
you. I already know the answer, but I'm letting you go ahead and say.
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna get to it. I'm not gonna get to it. Everything else about the game is there except for the title of the game.
Oh, come on! You got to know what that
No,
is.
of course I know what it is. It's just not in my brain right now. Uh,
Oh my
uh,
god!
I know. It's absolutely terrible. Yeah, no, it's gone. I have no idea.
Oh no! I can't believe this. I thought we were friends. No,
I know, and we are, but
you can do it. I
no,
believe in you.
it's not there. It's not there.
No, no.
No.
I don't want to. I don't want to say it because I know you're going to be very, very upset with me.
Well, no, please do. Please do. I'm not gonna be upset with you. I'm upset with myself for not remembering because it's so silly. So silly.
Oh, you're going to be mad.
I'm so mad. I'm mad already.
No, you're really going to be mad.
Yeah,
You're going to be really mad.
I know. I know.
Before I get to that, then, and really, I'm going to leave you in suspense a little bit more.
Uh,
What are your thoughts out there on, of course, Minecraft Legends and what are your thoughts out there on Minecraft Legends and also Dead Island 2? Please let us know, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. But my friend, before we head on out, a couple last things I want to touch on, then a kind of a rant or kind of an observation. Probably the best thing I would love to say on it because, all right, fine, I'll tell you. Fortnite,
yes,
gosh.
thank you.
Okay,
I knew there
Fortnite.
was an F involved.
Okay. Yeah, that's not the F you probably have in mind right now.
Yeah.
But before we head on out, I do want to cover one series that's already now talked about as being greenlit, and another series that I'm not sure you would love to hear that's being greenlit, but I knew it was pretty obvious. The first is a very fun one, a cult hit that I absolutely love. I think it's a great story, and it was a great at that time parody of Star Trek, which became itself a very good movie with some very fine actors all embracing their roles awesomely. And that was Galaxy Quest.
Yeah.
And if you're familiar with Galaxy Quest, it is really a fun movie. And I don't know anybody who has any type of bad or ill will towards it. Everybody I've heard talk about it speaks glowingly of it. And so if you haven't checked it out yet, please try to find it and seek it out as far as watching it on streaming in some format because it is worth your time. Well, this Tim Allen, Sigourney Weaver, Sam Rockwell, uh, just great cast all around. This movie has now evolved after much deliberation. There was talk about in the mid 2010s. There was talk about maybe doing a revival movie, but Alan Rickman, unfortunately, who played the Spock-like character in Galaxy Quest, he passed away, unfortunately. So that kind of put everything kind of halt on it. But it looks now that Paramount actually is going to go through with a series on Galaxy Quest. Your thoughts on this? To me, very momentous, very fun way of doing it because you got to remember it's a parody of Star Trek, and actually in the movie it was originally a TV
TV
series
show. Yeah.
in and of itself. So your
Mhm.
thoughts on a Galaxy Quest TV series?
I hope it's as cheeky as the movie was, and I hope that they keep the feeling of that movie through the TV series. I'm trying to say I hope they don't try to take themselves too seriously. You know, like we already have sci-fi shows that do that. We don't need more of those because they do them and they do them very, very well. I think that we need one that comes in, is completely tongue in cheek, a little sarcastic, give us the right amount of satire, and yeah, let's see that. I'm excited for that kind of show.
Since it's Paramount owned, what do you think the odds are that Star Trek Picard, and the fact that it's so funny because I saw Star Trek Picard, they were talking about how Patrick Stewart said no uniforms, no, he had certain restrictions before he ever went and did this again. And the first two seasons were based off of his restrictions. And once he said, you know what, I think it's better that we go back to the Starfleet and the uniforms and all that. Look what happened. It had its best season. But what do you think the influence of a possible Star Trek Picard could be on a Galaxy Quest? Maybe the influence there for some of the original actors returning, like the outstanding Tony Shalhoub, the outstanding and Academy Award winning, I believe, Sam Rockwell. He's obviously been nominated since. He's just done a great job. Then you also have Sigourney Weaver, Tim Allen, both still very active. I could see a scenario where it emulates and parodies Star Trek Picard.
But that's entirely possible. We could also see it parody, Voyager, which I think would be interesting. That would be good for a bit of a laugh. Yeah, you know, the sky's the limit, with a show like that. And again, I just hope that they do hold on to, that cheeky fun that they have, that they had in the original movie because, like I said, you know, we've already got serious sci-fi. We need the sci-fi show that we can go to for a bit of a break from that.
And then also as well, because you knew they were going to go ahead and hit up on it because we've seen everything from the Hunger Games to Harry Potter to Lord of the Rings being revived in the past few months, being announced is on the way. Your friend and mine, Twilight. Those movies, which you knew were very successful, was going to go ahead and get approached again, is being talked about as far as a TV series. Your thoughts on a greenlit series for Twilight?
I mean, who are they writing this show for?
I'm
Are
brooding right now. I'm
I
brooding. I'm
is
brooding.
that what that is? That you look do
I'm trying.
you look like you have gas.
Same thing.
Well, I mean, are they making the show for fans of the original Twilight stuff, or are they making a show for a new generation of fans to come into the Twilight family? That's the big question that I have about it. If it is for the original fans of the movie, then it's going to be a more mature show. I mean, mature in terms of what they can show on screen, perhaps not in terms of content, but um, you know what I mean? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. But I think that, yeah, it just depends on
Still brooding.
who who they're making that for.
Still brooding. Okay. Well, again, they're not making it for me because I never liked the Twilight series. I
Yeah.
actually had to sit through a couple of them. I didn't think they were great then. But again, they were beloved by millions of people. And, what's old is new again because
Yep.
Hollywood is never original with its stuff. And when it tries to go ahead and reach on the way back and find some fun stuff like we saw in season 3 of Picard and section 31 and some other stuff as far as the Star Trek stuff that's gone on, you got to go ahead and reach out into other successful IPs such as Harry Potter, such as Lord of the Rings, and such as Twilight. I'm telling you still, though, when the Fast and Furious movies are done, Universal can just not keep its hands off that property. They will have a TV series coming to Peacock, I think, or another more movies or something. They just will not leave it alone. I bet you. I will bet you money.
Well, I mean, those are for the people who like
Not
to
a
sit
whole
on the
lot of money because I don't have a whole lot of money, but I'll bet you money.
right, got you. But no, I think that those movies are great for people who like to experience, oh gosh, I just had it in my head and it was really clever and now it's gone again.
Bye
Um,
bye.
he's basically an adrenaline
Is
junkie.
it in the same place as
Like,
Fortnite?
yeah, it could be. It's like third time, 3 times removed adrenaline is what I'm trying to get at.
Okay.
So I figured a clever way to say that, and that's what was in my head. But 3 times removed adrenaline junkie. They're fun movies to watch. There's nothing really. you know that Dom is gonna figure out a way to
Well,
make
it would
everything
be
happen.
new characters with it because
Yeah.
Vin Diesel's never going to do TV series like that. He's a movie actor. Maybe he'll do a series when he's older, but I don't think it would be leading into this. But you never know. But you
Oh,
never
I
know. You
wouldn't
throw
be
enough
surprised
cash
to
at him, there you go.
exactly, I wouldn't be surprised to see a guest appearance or 2 or 3 or, a few episodes, arc with him involved. I would see that easily.
He is doing another Riddick, so you never know. But
Yeah.
your thoughts on another Twilight series? Heading back to Twilight and the vampires brooding all over the place. Share us your thoughts, popculturecosmos at yahoo.com, and also let us know your thoughts on the Galaxy Quest as well. But my friend, I did go to National Association of Broadcasters this week. The convention was there. You and I went last year.
Yes.
They had a ton, absolutely ton on the back end production wise there for everyone from video to audio to radio. I did speak to some of the people behind a local station 96.3 KKLZ. I got a chance to meet with them and talked about some stuff with them, which was great. But overall, the thing I did not see very much of was any attention to the realm of podcasting. And after the height of the coronavirus, which brought everybody indoors and brought everybody to saying, hey, I can make my own podcast, we have seen a sharp decline in the number of podcasts that are actually being produced out there. It's still something that there's plenty of. I mean, if you are a fan of podcasts, there's still going to be a ton of things to find, including the great work that we do here at the Pop Culture Cosmos. But it is not gone beyond us to see that the podcasting realm is not what it once was. And where just even last year, we were going to seminars and meetings about how important the podcasting realm was going to be to the future of broadcasting. I come back this year and it seems like I'm in a time warp. Outside of the 8K and some of the sharper things that they've done as far as making a better picture or making a better sound quality for the consumer, I still feel like I've been transwarped back into NAB 2018 because of the fact it's just reliant on the same traditional things that are part of the broadcasting universe and not embracing the podcasting community like it was thought I was going to do. Your thoughts on this, because it leads me to the conclusion that the podcasting boom might be over.
Well, if the I don't think that the boom may be over in terms of, every person on your street having their own podcast. Because as we know, people usually will put in 6 to 12 months with their podcast before they start to get kind of tired of doing it. And if they haven't drawn millions of listeners, because that's the ultimate dream, right? You start a podcast and you just jive with audiences and you're got millions of streams and you're making thousands of dollars from endorsement deals and commercials and all of that kind of stuff, but
Or
that's not
having it adapted into a TV series and a movie.
right, yeah, and I mean, like, none of that is really the reality for the vast majority of people who get into podcasting. So, I'm not surprised to see that some of those people who may have started during COVID have decided to not continue with their podcast. And that's fine. That just makes a little bit more room for people who have always been here. But I think that it's a little incorrect to say that the broadcast world still doesn't have its eye on podcasting, because the odd time now that I do go back and listen to radio, it doesn't take me long before I hear somebody mention, "You can listen to more on our," I don't know what for an example, iHeartRadio, it just comes to mind because I know they have a big, iPod. Oh my goodness. They have a big podcast push on iHeartRadio. You can find a bunch of podcasts and stuff there, so that's why I'm using it. But, you know, so I don't think that it's all doom and gloom in the realm of podcasting. Perhaps broadcasters are starting to take their focus off of it, because I think that during COVID, because nobody was in their car driving to work, nobody was listening to, for example, morning radio. So morning radio would make their show, turn it into a podcast, repackage it, and put it out into the world, and it would still get to those people that may have traditionally have driven to work during COVID. I think that that's perhaps what was driving a lot of podcasting during COVID. But now that that's over, that has started to relax again, and it doesn't feel as dire, I think, for traditional
It's now
broadcast.
just another thing.
Exactly. Yeah, it's just something else on the plate that your morning guy has to deal with or that a producer has to deal with. And, if your attention can be better spent on something that's happening over the airwaves, then that's probably where your focus should go. But I don't think that the podcasting boom is or the importance of podcasting is over for traditional media. I think that they still recognize it and they still see it, but I don't think that it's now a part of any kind of like three-prong approach that they have or anything like that, any kind of buzzwords.
Okay. Again, what I saw on the floor, podcasting was just persona non grata. They were talking about recording for broadcasting, broadcasting,
Yeah.
broadcasting, and I heard very little or saw very little of podcasting, podcasting,
Yeah.
podcasting.
Well,
It leaves you kind of concerned as a podcaster.
yeah, don't let it concern you at all because you know what's still happening in broadcast radio, in broadcasting media in general? Mass layoffs, thousands of people at a time. So the idea that nobody from radio is ever going to come in and try to do a podcast again is absolutely obtuse. That's not the way that it's going to go. As traditional media companies continue to just hemorrhage good people, they're going to land somewhere, either with a competitor or with a completely separate media that's going to eventually, come to head. And I think that there is still going to be a showdown between the popularity of podcasts and what traditional radio and traditional media is able to do.
We'll see what happens. I agree with you, Melinda, that podcasting is not dead or
No.
dying or on its lifeline, but it's no longer the hot thing. I will say now in the broadcasting industry, especially what I saw based off of NAB 2023, but it is still very much a part of the world of broadcasting. And as long as people are still enjoying it in large numbers, you'll still find us here at the Pop Culture Cosmos, indeed. So, what are your thoughts out there on the podcasting boom? Is it over? Please let us know your thoughts. Popculturecosmos at yahoo.com. Well, my friend, it's been a great episode. You knocked it out of the park as always for a home run. You're rounding the bases now. Any last thoughts before you hit home plate?
Yeah, this Sunday, we are back into Vason, so we're excited for that. And then this coming Monday, what do I have on the tab? Oh, I've got the girls in Halifax are back at it this coming Monday. It's a showdown with the Hag for sure coming up. And yeah, no, we're just having a lot of fun getting season 3 ready to go for Vampires and Vitae. I'm not allowed to say too much about it yet. But we are going to be it is going to be taking place during a pretty significant piece of American history. I will put it that way.
Fair enough indeed. But can see, actually, check out the great work. Check out the great work of Melinda Barkhouse Ross with Vampires Vitae. Of course, Wild Beyond Witchlight, Wizards and Wine, both the Las Vegas and Halifax tables, and of course, everything she does for us here with Basin, a new adventure. Check it out wherever you get your podcasts. So for Melinda Barkhouse Ross, this is Gerald Glassford. It's another beautiful day in paradise right here in the PCC Multiverse. We thank you for listening. And here's hoping you have yourself a great